Hello, my name's Layla and I'm a developer. In the last video, we learnt a lot about methods and classes in C#, and we made some fun cheese surveys. In this video, we're going to move away from our cheese survey and create a new application, and we're going to learn about operators in C#. But what is an operator? Well, if you need to say something is bigger than something else, or if something is smaller, or if you want to say or, that's what an operator allows you to do. It allows you to compare values and do something based on that comparison. So let's head over to code and take a look. We're going to create a new application, and I've already created a folder called Hello Operators. And if you can't remember how to create an application, head over to video 1. I've put the link above in the corner and in the description. So we can go .NET New, and we are going to create yet another console app. And this is going to take the name of the containing folder. And if I type code dot, that's going to open Visual Studio Code for me in the right place. That's a handy workflow tip. Our basic template comes like this. We just have a console.writeLine hello world, and we're just going to carry on from this. The first operator we're going to look at is the greater than and less than. So do you remember those from maths at school, those angle brackets that we had? That's what we're going to use. So we're going to ask the user to give us a word. And just like before, we're going to capture that word into a string variable. And we'll call that word, because it's easy. In video 2, we looked at some conditional logic such as if-else statements, and we're going to write another if-else statement, this time to say something about the length of the word that we're given. So we're also going to learn about another method available on string. All right, let's see if someone has a word less than 6. Let's start by getting out the bare bones of our if statement. And in here, we're going to go word.length, and that's the method available from the string type. And we want to see if our word is less than 6 letters long. So we can go less than 6. And that will mean it will be up to 5 letters. So if word.length is less than 6, let's say that's a short word. Now let's write another condition. We're just going to use if again. We don't really need to do this, but I'm going to check it because we could just have an else, and everything that doesn't fit into the category above would fall into it. But just for the purpose of this, I'm going to write it. So we can have if word.length is greater than or equal to 6. So that's another key operator there. We've got greater than and equal. So any word of length 6 or larger will be in this bucket. And we'll just say that's a long word. Let's go try it out. So if you remember to run an application, we go .NET Run. You can ignore all the yellow type here. That's just warnings and some information about our application. It's not anything you need to worry about unless it's red. Okay, so we're being asked to give a word. Let's go morning. That's a long word, so that's working. All right, let's go and do that again. And we'll go hi. And that's a short word. So that's all working. Let's head back over. Now, what if we wanted to look at a medium length word and a long word? So we're going to use another operator, and that's an AND operator, and it's a double ampersand. Now let's go and do that. There's our double ampersand, and this time we're going to go word.length, and we're going to say less than 11. So that includes words up to 10 letters long. So let's do that. And in here, we'll say that's a medium length word. And then the final bit is the catch-all. So we can do else, and that's going to be everything over the size of 10. So any words that are 11 or longer. So there is our application. I'm just going to format that a little bit. Visual Studio Code doesn't always format your code in the nicest way, so you can always just right-click into the window and choose Format Document, or you can use the shortcut Alt-F, and if you do that, you see it spaces everything out nicely for you. Okay, so let's go and see if I can figure out some long words and short words, and head over and try it out. And let's go hi. That's a short word. Good. And let's go, I don't know, Philadelphia. Nearly got it right. That's a long length word. Let's try a medium length word then. .NET Run. And we're going to try morning. And there we go. So all of that is working. So that's a nice introduction to the greater than and less than or equal to operators. Let's dig into these and or operators a little bit more closely. So we are done with this bit of code. If you want to stay in the same project, you can just select all of it. And you can use the shortcut Control-K-C, and that will comment everything out, so it will no longer run. Okay, so we're going to write a new little mini game, and this one's going to be to pick the odd word out, and then we can do some comparisons and make things work. So we're going to ask the user to pick the odd one out of a list of animals: dog, cat, and goldfish. So goldfish is going to be the odd one out because it lives in the water and is not a mammal. So we're going to ask them to give us the odd one with a console.readline. So we're going to have string, and we'll call this one odd one equal to console.readline. And if you want to be really clever, to get this all lowercase, because we know that matters, you can, on the end of this, tack 2 lower. And now the response that we get back, regardless of the casing, is going to be lowercase, because we're going to be comparing strings, which can be a little bit tricky and is generally not a recommended practice in production applications, but it's great for learning, so don't worry about that now. We're going to check first using the AND operators, and then we're going to use the OR operators to check. Now, our first statement is going to check if odd one is not equal to dog, and if it's not equal to cat, then it must be the right one. By process of elimination, there's only the goldfish left. So we can say you chose the odd one out. And if they didn't satisfy the statement on line 23, they didn't win the game. So let's run that and see if it works. Okay, so if I choose dog, it's going to tell me I'm wrong. If I choose cat, it should tell me I'm wrong. But if I choose goldfish, I should be correct. Cool. All right, so that's how you can use the AND operator, and that's very similar to what we did with the numbers in the previous example. But what if we want to do the OR statement? All right, well, let's try it. Now, an OR statement is a double pipe symbol. If you're not sure what a pipe is, if you're on a UK keyboard, it's next to the left shift button generally, just to the left of Z, or Z if you're in the US. And it's 2 vertical lines, and this means if it's not equal to dog, or it's not equal to cat. So let's see what happens with this one, because this is an interesting one. All right, so let's choose dog. I chose the odd one out, but how did that work? Well, what happened was that I didn't satisfy the first argument. Okay, so when I asked, oh, is it equal to dog? It went, well, yes, it is equal to dog. But what is the other thing that can satisfy this? Well, it's not equal to cat. So that's okay. And that's where this can get a little bit confusing. When you have the AND operator, your statement needs to satisfy both sides of the operator. When you use an or, it only has to satisfy one. So your code will look at the first argument, and if it doesn't satisfy the first argument, it will see if it satisfies the second argument. And this is where the or statement can be a little bit confusing. Well, let's make this or statement work for us. What we can do is say, is it equal to dog and is it equal to cat? So we'll say, well, if it's equal to dog, we'll go in here. Or if it's equal to cat, we'll go in here. Now we're going to have to change our responses round because we've changed that. So now we're going to say if it's equal to dog or if it's equal to cat, they've lost the game and anything else will win. And let's see what happens. So if I type in dog, it's going to satisfy that first condition. And then if I type cat, it won't satisfy the first condition where it should be equal to dog. So it's going to now go and look and evaluate the second part of our statement. And we'll see that that's wrong. And then we're going to do our goldfish. And we can see that that didn't satisfy either the first part of the statement here or the second part of the statement, so we went into the else statement. So it can be a little bit confusing, but once you've got your head around it, it makes sense. The final thing I want to show you in this video is a new conditional statement called a switch. And I'm going to show you the old way of doing a switch and the new way of doing a switch. And what we're going to do is use our very first little bit of code about our word length, and we're going to turn the if-else statement into a switch. So let's get rid of our code here, and we are going to start a new bit of code down below. And it's nice to comment out your code because then you can go back and see what you've written and play around with it. Don't be afraid to try things and comment it out. Okay, so this time we're going to ask that same thing, hello, please write any word. And I'm just going to bring it down here for ease. So we're going to ask them for that, and we're going to get a response. So just exactly the same as before. And rather than an if-else statement, we're going to use the keyword switch. And this is what a switch looks like. And we're going to pass our switch the thing that we are evaluating all of our cases against. So that is word.length. A switch is made up of cases. So case 1, does it match? We'll do this. Case 2, if it matches, we'll do that. So let's start doing it. So our very first if statement, if we scroll back up, was word length less than 6. So if we come down here and we go case less than 6, and then we need to use a colon, not a semicolon, because we're going to say what happens if this case is the match. Well, we're going to do console.writeLine, and we're going to say that's a short word, just like we did before. Now, you may be wondering, why is this still a squiggly red line? And that's because if we satisfy this condition, we need to break out of the switch. So we use the keyword break, and you can see our code is now happy. Now, we need a default case. Every switch needs something that if none of your cases are satisfied, this is what you're going to do, the default response. So let's just add that. You use the word default, and this is the same as your else in your else statement. So in this case, we're going to use console.writeLine. That's a long word. And we still need to break out of the code. Okay, so we've got our two cases. Now we need to do our last bit, our else if, where we asked if our word length was greater than or equal to 6 or less than 11. Let's do that. Now this one is a little bit different. We go case, And then we need to get a variable out for our code to compare against. So this is going to be an int because we're comparing the length of a word. And that's going to be just called L, or you could call it length. It doesn't matter what you call it. In fact, let's call it length so you know what we're looking at. And then we use a keyword called when. Now, C# is a very human readable language. You're going to see lots of sort of grammatical words in here like when, is, not, and it just makes the code easier to read. So we want to say when the word is greater than or equal to length, and so we're going to use that and again, length is less than 11. So that is our case. So we have a colon there, and then we can go and grab our statement up here, pop that in along with our break, and we have rewritten our if-else statement as a case. Now you may be asking why you want to use a switch statement over an if-else statement, and that's because it's faster. Our C# compiler does something different when it makes this machine readable, and a switch statement is a lot faster than an if-else statement. It's also easier to read and manage if you have a lot of cases. You don't want to be writing if, else if with all the curly braces. It gets quite unwieldy and hard to read. So switches are both faster and easier to read. Now, a few years ago, we got a different type of switch, and that was called an expression switch or a pattern matching switch. So I'm just going to show you how one of those is written, and just in case you see that when you're working. Okay, so we're going to write our newfangled switch now, and it is slightly different than the old style switch. In this case, we're going to return our response rather than just do what we want to do. So we're going to have a message, and that's going to be the message that we print in the console. This is going to be a string. It doesn't have to be a string, it will be whatever your expression returns, and we'll call this message. And this time it's going to be word.length and then the keyword switch. And now we can use our switch expression. And we're going to take a lot of this straight from our previous switch. So the first thing we're going to do is take this less than 6 and copy it. And this is going to be our first expression. Now, an expression uses an arrow, a fat arrow, some might call it. It's a bit sizest. I don't think it's particularly fat, but it is an arrow, and this can be confusing because we've already seen this type of notation where you have greater than or equal or less than or equal, but know that the compiler knows this is different, and it matters where you put things, and it can be confusing. So don't worry about that. Just know that in this instance, this one is an arrow. And we're going to return the contents of our console.writeLine. So we're going to pop that in there, and then we have a comma. And now on our next line, we're going to say it needs to be less than 11. And this order does matter because of the way the operators are read. And then we're going to use the keyword and. Rather than the double ampersand, we're actually going to write the word and. And this is because this is all new C# and it's quite different. So we're also going to say, is it greater than or equal to 6? And now we have our expression, and this is going to be the contents of this. And again, we have our comma. And now the last one, which is going to be our default statement, and this needs to be an underscore, sometimes called a discard, because it just means if nothing else is met, this is what you're going to do. And so we have the underscore, then our fat arrow, and then we're going to have this. We can pop that in, and now we can comment all of this switch out. And we just need to print our message at the end. So we've commented out everything else. Let's run it and see if it works. All right, let's type hi. That's a short word. Okay, let's type morning. And finally, let's type a long word. That's a long word. So you can see our switch statement has worked with the expressions or the classic way, and we've learnt about various operators. There are more operators, but these are the most common ones that you will use. I hope you've enjoyed this video and learnt a little bit more about some of the operators and more conditional statements that are available in C#. Please like this video if you've enjoyed it, which I hope you have, and don't forget to subscribe for more content coming every week, and I'll see you next time. Bye!